Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. And of course, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Raquel and I'm a Vedic sidereal astrologer. I am back yet again with another energy forecast for the month of June. And I know you guys have been feeling the shifts. I know you guys have because you've been telling me about it. The month of April and May has really changed up some things for some of you. A lot of you. And that's because we've had major planets that have changed signs that don't often move, and we've had solar and lunar eclipses, and now here comes the month of June, where the dust starts to settle and we can start seeing, I am starting to get why those changes took place and where I'm supposed to be going now. So without further ado, let's get into June 2022. On the roll call is Mercury is stationing direct in Taurus as of June 3rd. Now, if you remember from last month's energy forecast video that I made, you know that whenever Mercury goes retrograde, it is a time to reflect, regroup, revise, and redo. And maybe for some of you, you can already start seeing why you had those delays or obstacles. Because whenever a planet retrogrades, it's not something that's trying to harm us. Au contraire, it is really a time where it's giving you an opportunity to get that delay to spare you. And yes, it may produce some obstacle or some hassle, but it's only to kind of like correct you so that you can prevent from a bigger disaster from occurring. Or maybe you were going to go forward in something and you didn't have all the information. This is particular to Mercury retrogrades. And now that you have that information, now that you've made those changes and you revised, you tweak some things. Now that you have better awareness, you're able to go forward and hopefully unencumbered. Retrograde planets are not punishments. They are, however, a time for correction. And that's why we're reflecting. Now, whenever a planet stations direct or stations retrograde, which basically means the planet is no longer moving, it is fixed in its position. Around those days, the energy is pretty intensive. So remember that this Mercury stations direct on the 3rd. So any days up to or around there, just know that the energy is going to be heightened. So make sure that your load is a little less so you're not stressing yourself out or getting frustrated from already a heightened energy. So now that Mercury is going to be flowing direct, it's a good time to bring whatever you created, whatever you were revising and redoing, whatever information came to you, and you can bring it forward. The moon is a good guide to know when is the energy ripe. And we usually want to bring things forward when the moon is gaining in light, which happens a couple days after a new moon. Whatever you would like to grow and expand, you usually want to do it if you don't have a muhurta, which is usually a timing in astrology. But if you want to use something very simple, you can use the moon. After a new moon, light is gaining. Illumination is being created. Therefore, whatever you want to grow and expand, you can use the light of the moon to bring that forth. And on May 30th, there is going to be a new moon. So a couple days afterwards, if you want to bring forth whatever you have, you can do it then. I like to say wait a week though after a retrograde planet because it stations one way and then it flows direct, and that takes a few days up to a week, maybe 2, depending on the movement of that planet. You'll also get another opportunity if you wanted to use the moon as your guide at the end of June when we'll have another new moon. On June 4th, Saturn will station retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. And it will be aspecting Venus in Aries. Venus is going to be in Aries for a good portion of June, even though it transitioned in May. And Saturn's 3rd aspect is going to be on Venus. Now, while Saturn is friends with Venus, Saturn is an enemy to Aries. Now remember when I told you in my May video to practice restraint on Venetian things such as money, spending, relationships, luxury. Excess of these things would surely have consequences in the future, especially because Mercury was retrograde in a Venusian sign, Taurus. That was laying a whole storyline for me. Like when I do this, I look at the planets and I see how they progress in the following months, and you can totally see the story, the plot that's being set, the stage that's being set, which is why I gave you a little bit of caution in May regarding Venetian things. If things were done to violate Venus principles, such as reciprocity, diplomacy, women, Saturn is sure to show the errors of our ways through correction. By its third aspect, we will be putting a lot of effort and seeing the consequences of our actions when it comes to this transit of Saturn's look and gaze on Venus in Aries. As I've mentioned before, Saturn is the planet of karma. It's the great balancer, which is why it exalts or does really well in the sign of Libra, the sign of balance, a Venus sign. That's why Venus and Saturn are best friends. It's not that we can't enjoy Venetian things. It's saying to do so with balance. And when we are extreme in our actions, in our choices that we make, and lean towards excess, Saturn comes and places its rings around us and keeps us from going out of bound. He puts limitations and also gives us the consequences of our own actions. Let me say this again. Saturn is going to give you the consequences of your own actions. Thus is karma. Now, when Saturn retrogrades in Aquarius, it will remain there until July 12th. After that time, it will transit into Capricorn, or transit back into Capricorn, because that's where he's been for the past 2.5 years. Then it will station direct as of October 23rd. So as you can see, Saturn will be retrograde for a very long time and all of summer going into the fall. When Saturn is in Aquarius, he is strong. He's in his office and he is able to give you the fruits of your labor, where you can have great rewards and achievements. This is also giving you a glimpse when Saturn officially transits into Aquarius in January 2023, where he'll remain for the next 3 years after that. Now, while Saturn has the power to give you the success and achievement, it also has the power to give you the consequences of your actions. That's just how it goes. Saturn is a very black and white planet. It is very much like you reap what you sow, and I'm gonna hand it to you. That's why people are so scared of Saturn. But here's the thing. If you just listen, if you just follow and the principles of Saturn, which is duty, responsibility, effort, hard work, diligency, consistency, practicality, when you honor the Saturn principles, Saturn gives you massive rewards. And Saturn gives rewards like no other planet because he gives you lasting. He's the planet of longevity. So when you do have that success, those achievements, when you do establish something firm, it makes sure it endures for a very long time when it comes to Saturn. Now, when Saturn retrogrades, like every other planet, it's asking you to reflect. If you have stepped out of your path, out of alignment, it's usually this time when Saturn retrogrades. Saturn retrogrades every year, by the way. And it's usually this space of time where it's gonna say, excuse me, you were going the wrong way. Now I gotta correct ya. Pivot. You know, it's usually a time where we have to reflect Often because we're getting consequences of our actions that force us to reflect and then put us back on our path, back in alignment in the course that we belong on. Now, I understand that Saturn doesn't seem to be like super exciting of a planet, and he's not. He is a stern, strict teacher. But that's why you have all the other grahas to, entertain you with delight and fancy, like Venus, and, Mercury's cool too. It's Saturn's part or dominion to give us those lessons so that we can grow. It's interesting because Saturn actually is a contracting, restrictive planet. It places us in this space of almost confinement due to our own choices and actions that we've made, of course. And then there we contemplate and we reflect and we figure out, how do I get out of this? And at first it gives us the hardships. At first it gives us those trials and tribulations. But once again, it's only to recalibrate us. Now, aside from Aries, if you have planets, prominent planets that is, in the sign of Leo or Scorpio, know that Saturn will be aspecting your sign as long as Saturn is in Aquarius. Once again, that's till July 12th. And here's something to note. Saturn will be aspecting Aries, right? As I mentioned. So if you have planets in Aries, know that that is a time of caution because Saturn is real quick to deliver those consequences and correct that action. I'm not even gonna go there. Heard a joke? I'm gonna let it slide. Now for Leo, Saturn is a great enemy because Leo is ruled by the sun, Saturn's arch enemy. So for this, you may find that while Saturn is in Aquarius, you may have opposition to you. It may feel a little frustrating because you might be dealing with people who oppose you. Now for people who have Scorpio, this is interesting because you have Jupiter's aspect on you as well as Saturn, which is causing a Sasha Yoga to take place. So if you have the dashas promising this in your chart, this could be really interesting. There might be some great success and achievement coming your way. So for Aries, as I mentioned, it's an enemy sign for Saturn where it's going to have its aspect on, and Rahu is there, which will amplify it. So caution to these signs because there can be a little bit of kicking up of dust when Saturn is in Aquarius. Now, after July 12th, Saturn will retrograde back into Capricorn, and his aspect will be on the signs Pisces, Cancer, and Libra. Now, Libra is a tricky one because Libras are already having Ketu transit it. So having Saturn's aspect is kind of a heavy energy for Libra native people. For Cancer, however, you're going to have Jupiter's aspect on there. So just know, for the Pisces, Cancer, and Libra people, you're up next for when Saturn is retrograde in Capricorn till October 23rd. And I know I didn't mention Pisces. Pisces, again, Saturn will be aspecting you, but you have Jupiter on your sign right now, which is really going to help protect and smooth things over. All right, so now that I got some of that heaviness out of the way, let's lighten it up, right? Let's lighten it up. June 15th, the sun will go into the Mercury-ruled sign Gemini. And this is going to give us a nice break from all this heavy energy that's been taking place. Gemini is a playful sign. It is a curious sign. Here the sun is curious and eager to learn new things, which is why Gemini is known for having multiples, right? Gemini is a dual sign. It shows usually two people. And so Gemini likes to have his hands in a lot of things, known as the multitasker. As I mentioned, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So this sign is infused with the energy to communicate, to learn, to have that curiosity. It also rules friendships and commerce. The sun and Mercury go well together. So this is a good positioning for the sun. When the sun transits into Gemini, we're going to feel this surge of energy of, like I said, playfulness and wanting to go out, travel, meet and have fun with friends, being playful, like I said, taking on new hobbies or getting back into our hobbies. We'll be really eager to communicate and share ideas. I really love that we're finally, after all this energy that's been taking place, all this heavy energy and all these shifts, this is going to be a nice little break where we're going to be able to feel revitalized in the sign of Gemini. Now on the 18th of June, Venus is going to transit into Taurus. Thank goodness. Because Venus in Aries is taking in a lot. It's a little bit much, okay? We need it to go back into the sign it rules, which is Taurus. And there she'll be meeting up with a nice friend, Mercury. Now remember what I mentioned about when Venus is in Aries and Saturn's aspecting it. Quick to correct you with the consequences. So for you Aries natives, Sun, Moon, Venus, Ascendant, heed this warning, all right? Don't allow Rahu making you think you're invincible. Here will come Saturn real quick to shatter that illusion. Now, as I mentioned, Venus and Mercury are friends. So this is a comfortable position for the both of them. And I'm really happy about this because like I said, all this heaviness that we've been having, we need a break. We need to have fun. And Venus in Taurus with her friend Mercury is going to give us that permission to do so. And when Venus is in her sign Taurus, she seeks the sensual, the pleasures of her desires. And so we too are going to feel so inclined to do the same. She wants to indulge in the senses. That's what Taurus is all about. So good food, you know, buying nice clothes, looking good, feeling good, going and being with friends, buying luxury things, going shopping, if I didn't say that already. All things in moderation, guys, because you always know that now that I'm teaching you guys, it's like all things in moderation. And when things aren't done in moderation, that's when karma comes to line us, correct us, all that stuff. So in all things, moderations. But here in Taurus, we can have a little fun. We can enjoy ourselves a little bit, okay? Venus in Taurus will also put us in the mood to be quite flirty, social. She's going to seek enjoyment. We are going to be seeking enjoyment. And we kind of got the door open to do so. So enjoy. Mira, enjoy, you know, Saturn. Enjoy with caution. On June 27th, Mars will be going into Aries, the sign it rules. And I'm really glad that I gave you guys all these insights on this happy light energy of Venus and Taurus and Mercury and Taurus and whatnot, because this one's a doozy. It is. When Mars goes into Aries, it's gonna be a wild ride, I must say. Now, as I mentioned before, Mars rules Aries, so it's very comfortable here. But here's the thing. Rahu is also in Aries. And remember what I told you about how Rahu behaves when it's in Aries. I've just made a video of Rahu in Aries and Libra in Ketu, or Ketu in Libra. And if you haven't seen it, I'm gonna put the links down below. Watch it, because it's super important, because this is gonna be taking place all the way till spring. Correction, fall. Of 2023. But having Mars coming to the sign of Aries is going to be extreme. Why? Rahu, as I mentioned in that previous video, Rahu is an air element and Mars is a fire element. When you put fire with air, it is explosive. And we may see that on a grand scale with our world. Something can be very sudden, very quick that can happen globally and in our lives. For those of you who have the dashas, so that means your time cycle that you're in, And for those of you who have dominant in Aries and even Libra signs. So if that's you, listen up, because this transit is an important one in terms of events that could be quite pivotal. And like I said, sudden, quick shifts. So now, with that being said, let me say those dates again. So from June 27th all the way to August 10th, for you Libra and Aries people, listen up, because this is important. It could be a very volatile time. Things could shift drastically in your life, unexpectedly. And for everybody, just know that around the time when Mars is moving into Aries, that's the 27th of June, a couple days before and a couple days after, it's going to be in something called Gandanta. It's when a water sign is transiting into a fire sign. And water and fire are not harmonious together. So usually it's a very, the emotions are heightened, the energy is heightened and intense. And it could be very uncomfortable around those days, with frustration for some and also events for others. Gandanta is a karmic knot, is what it means. And so when we come to these points where a water sign is transiting into a fire sign, we know that there is a karmic unfolding taking place. And when it comes to karma, it's something that we must live. And even though a lot of people have a lot of fear around karma, karma is just action reverberating back to you. And it is the action that needs to take place for you to continue on your path. And as you guys know, I don't need to tell you, life is a mixed bag of good and bad, and that's how we like to see it. But how I like to perceive it is it's all good, because it's all leading me to my purpose and expanding me. I understand that's not everyone's perspective, but if you can adopt that perspective, it serves you really well as you go through the shifts and changes that life brings to you. Alright guys, so I'm really hoping that this is a short video. I am trying to make my videos shorter. Leave a comment down below if you think I shouldn't. You guys like my longer videos or short videos, let me know. And if you want to know what the month of June or the rest of 2022 has in store for you, check out my links down below where you can book a reading with me, and from there I offer a variety of readings, whether it's a child reading, whether it's your birth chart reading, finding out what your karma and your dharma is, which is the actions and the purpose for your life, or you can get also a transit reading, which can tell you kind of like where you are in your own personal timeline and the events that will be unfolding in your life. So until next time, be well.